Episode 2, where Mum finds a gardener and we have adventures in translation. Mum's small garden had become quite neglected. It's actually amazing anyone in London has space for a bit of private greenery, but that's the advantage of being in what's reverently called an established neighbourhood. She'd had a series of gardeners come to the rescue, including a young German woman with a botany degree who was amazing. But she got involved with an abusive live-in lover and had to flee back to mainland Europe. Then there was the older Irish gardener recommended by a friend who got a bit too close, Mum said. So when I pressed her, and no pun intended, it transpired he liked to give her a hug several times during his visit, which naturally made her very uncomfortable. So just as the jungle was thickening its way towards the back terrace, Mum found Thomas, a young Hungarian, and he's a gardening dynamo. Within 2 visits, the jungle was almost cleared and ready to be bagged and taken to the tip. Thomas, however, was not drama-free either. He'd come to England with his girlfriend, and she was helping him with his business, which they intriguingly called Zen gardening. Mum found his flyer in which she was invited to leave a massage at his cell number, and found out that Thomas was indeed a Buddhist. Now, his English is far better than our Hungarian, and he's trying very hard to grasp the language, unfortunately taking what he reads a little too literally. After a fast and furious hacking session at the undergrowth, Mum came out with a cup of tea and cookies as refreshment, and she took the break as an opportunity to ask him how much he was planning to charge her. With a cup and biscuit in each hand, blackened by soil, he looked thoughtful for a moment and then told her, "Last week I did 4 whores and today I did 3. The shock on Mum's face indicated some pronunciation problem, and he quickly added, "Something not a good word?" To which Mum nodded, grasping for how to explain this to him. One time, he arrived looking troubled, and Mum, being the kind, empathic soul she is, asked him what was wrong. He explained haltingly that his girlfriend had left him for another Hungarian, taking everything he owned, and to top it all, falsely accused him of trying to strangle her. She went to the police to report the alleged assault, and Thomas felt he had no choice but to give his side of the story. He was rewarded with a night in a cell, bonded by bail, and with a restraining order. Despite this, the girlfriend continued to text him asking for money. I suggested he didn't reply, to which he assured me he didn't. "She crazy," he said. Of course, one can never know what really happens in someone's private life, but looking at Thomas, it's hard to believe he would hurt one of the many snails that proliferate in Mum's undergrowth, let alone get aggressive with a woman. He has a real gentleness about him, and is short and slender, probably in his late 20s, with shaved blonde hair balding on top, bright blue eyes, and clean-shaven except for a thin tuft of a goatee on his chin. He wears a hippie-like brown bead necklace around his neck that could be made of dried South American berries or something, and he works non-stop until interrupted. Apparently his father owned a vineyard and orchard back in Hungary, so horticulture is really in Thomas's blood. Well, it was time to take the garden waste to the tip, and Thomas loaded his van, that still has Hungarian plates, with all of the stuff. He needed one of us to go with him, partly because of his language handicap, and partly because he had no clue where the tip was. Actually, I didn't either, so I had a Google map and a hand drawing from my autistic mother, and we set off. Wandsworth has become a busy metropolis, and there are more giant roundabouts than I ever remember, plus the kind of aggressive driving you'd find on the European continent. We sailed around one roundabout, realizing too late we'd missed the turning, and it took us at least 10 minutes to negotiate the one-way system to make it back. I actually began to get carsick with all the swerving, but we made it eventually. And I have to say, the tip is impressively organized. Docks with visual symbols indicate what recycling goes where, Just about everything has a dock and a symbol, including one for books, old VHS tapes, and the more general household waste, a catch-all for whatever may not fit. And in case you still get confused, there's a team of recycling advisors in blue uniforms to guide you. As we were hauling the garden waste into a giant skip, Thomas stopped for a moment. "Oh," he said, "we have to be careful." And I asked why. And he explained that a frog had got in with the foliage and he couldn't persuade it to stay in the garden. We gingerly tipped the tangled weeds, but no frog. Thomas took a stick and carefully sifted through, but still no luck. "Oh," he said. "Bad karma?" I asked, and he nodded. Apparently karma is universally understood. Well, back in the van, I found out that Thomas was once in a famous Hungarian rock band, and they performed all over Serbia and Russia. He was their composer and their lead singer. But now he liked gardening more, and he hoped to build his business. I mentioned he might want to learn more English and that listening to BBC radio might be a help. As I said that, it dawned on me that the current overload of cricket commentaries might not be much help. But he brightened at the idea and tapped the radio on the dashboard. He listened to pop songs and was learning from the lyrics. One song said, "Leave me alone. And that's what I want my girlfriend to do," he grinned.